Hello everyone out there on the internet, I am Jack. Hello everyone out there on the internet, I am Jack of all trades, and this is part 2 of an ongoing series I'm doing, looking at each of the Attack on Titan OVAs in turn. So if you want to check out the previous part, link to that will be on screen in whichever corner that goes and at the end of this video. At this time, the final season of Attack on Titan has not yet aired, so I please ask that you keep all the comments spoiler free. Nothing from beyond episode 59 of the anime or chapter 90 of the manga. So in this video we'll be talking about the second OVA released, episode 3.25, A Sudden Visitor, The Torturous Curse of Adolescence. First released in April 2014, A Sudden Visitor was released with a special edition of volume 20 of the manga. The basic premise is that Jean and Sasha have an argument, and a shit-faced Commander Pixis decides to settle the point with a cook-off that he shall preside over. And things only go further off the rails from there. I will be discussing spoilers for this OVA and Attack on Titan as a whole up to the end of Season 3, so if you have not yet seen this 25-minute episode, I highly recommend you do so. It's a lot of fun. After establishing shots of an overcast Trost, we open with Jean concentrating in the dark. Footsteps draw near with narration, reminiscent of Episode 1.
その日、少年は思い出した。奴に支配されていた恐怖。鳥かごの中に囚われていた屈辱。
It's revealed that he's sketching Mikasa, and after a flub that is all too relatable to artists in traditional mediums, his mother barges in to tell him that lunch is ready. Jean yells back, slamming the door, and reaffirms his goal to himself to join the military police, before we burst into the intro. Now, whether or not you have seen this OVA, most Attack on Titan fans have probably seen this intro somewhere online. Gurren no Yumiya begins, but as it plays we get a clear message that this episode is all about Jean, not Eren. In the first shot after the title card we see Eren and Jean have swapped places, with Jean now standing closest to the camera. Instead of Mikasa looking over to Eren, we instead see Jean glance over to her. In the lineup of soldiers, we again see the two have swapped places with Jean taking center stage. And I am a huge fan of this personally, where shows take the intro and tweak it slightly depending on what's happening that episode or that part of the show. From more recent shows like She-Ra to Gravity Falls, Community, it's a great way for the creators to have some fun while taking the viewers off guard. And this is one of my favourite examples of this, right up there with Dio breaking Sonochi no Kiku in part 3. It feels like Jean saw the original Gurren no Yumiya and said, "Hey, hold on a second, I have screen time!" deciding to edit it so he was the protagonist. Even down to minor details like in the flurry of neon manga panels, it focuses still on Jean. As we see the wall explode as usual, Eren is thrown up into the air, but this time we see Jean up there as well, in front of him. In the iconic continuous shot, we, as usual, see Jean, then Annie, then Mikasa soaring through the air. And with the viewer now primed, probably expecting Jean to then take Eren's place in this moment again, we instead just get shots of him cut in, making it look like he's giving the order. Because, you know, reanimating it so it's Jean instead of Eren just for this one-off episode would be quite a pain. The final of these edits comes at the climax, as Eren charges in to attack the Colossal Titan, and we see Jean up there high above him in the foreground in focus, dominating the frame with a smirk on his face. But this time into the episode itself, cutting the intro short, with Jean leaving home to train in the military. After a brief montage of said training, the 104th Cadets arrive at Trost, for a practice should the city be breached. Passing the crowds, a few people discussing some local monster pig. Jean teases Connie and Sasha as they look around wide-eyed, while Armin asks him if he plans to visit his home, only to have his head bitten off and told to drop it. As citizens practice evacuation protocol, the 104th charge in to take out some training dummies. Here we get our first introduction to Anka overseeing the training, with Pixis in his first canonical scene, totally sloshed standing up while sleeping. Anka wakes him and confiscates his hip flask, only for Pixis to pull out a second and take a swig. Jean leads his squad of Annie and Armin into the fray, only for them to be beaten to the punch by Mikasa, Connie, Reiner, and Sasha. After the exercise, Jean argues with Sasha for stealing his kill. Reiner and Connie step in, defending their actions. With 3 of them about to throw down, Pixis shows up, pulling rank and stating that using a military training exercise to settle an argument is simply unacceptable. And after another swig, he sets the rest of the story in motion. Sasha taunts Jean into accepting, as Eren and Mikasa pass by without a clue as to what's going on. Rather than the usual cards before and after the ad break, we instead get 3 standalone cards throughout this episode, each in a style similar to a colorized version of Jean's sketch from the beginning of this episode. The first of which gives us a somewhat comedic depiction of Levi explaining what the most important part of cooking is, setting us up for the next part of the episode. We pick up with a reluctant Annie and Armin riding with Jean to find the locally infamous colossal boar, which meat will be enough to secure them victory. However, the more enthusiastic squad of Sasha, Connie and Reiner overtake them, both teams after the same target yet again. While Jean leads his group in circles, to Reiner's surprise, Sasha's team find the colossal boar almost instantly. He walks away, deciding that it's impossible to take down, only to be greeted by a smack and an elbow from Sasha. Remember the time that Sasha slapped the armor titan in the face? She starts to cry, something about the world being connected and their ancestors, which Reiner quickly stops by apologizing, despite having no clue what she's on about. The noise has awoken the colossal boar. Sasha and Connie charge at it, while Reiner trails behind, not used to the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Jean's team spot the explosions in the distance, and now both are pursuing the boar. Sasha climbs across its back while Armin tries to distract her with potatoes. Sasha jumps up in the air, dramatically firing a single arrow down into the boar's skull, bringing it to a stop. They return to Trost in celebration, much to Jean's dismay. We then get our second card, depicting Sasha, Connie and Reiner playing in a rock band. We cut back to a significantly more relaxed story of Eren and Mikasa moving boxes. No wonder the story was skipped over when you see the series from their perspective. They are interrupted by Jean's mother looking for him. She asks Jean why he hasn't come to visit, and embarrasses him by overly doting on him, trying to clean a stain from his uniform, bringing snacks for the other kids, and asking them to be friends with him. Jean again yells at her and slams the door in her face. We skip forward to see Jean holding the key to the officer's pantry, presenting his idea to Armin and Annie, that they sneak in and steal some beef to use in the cook-off. Armin freaks out knowing he can't steal or keep a secret. Running away, he trips up the stairs and ends up with both his legs in casts. Annie drops out too, saying that she can't risk being caught. Jean sneaks down to the pantry alone, but is spotted by a member of the garrison, who gives him a package from his mother. Jean opens it to find his mum has practically made him a bento box, causing him to flash back Anton Ego style to his childhood, where his mother made him similar omelettes, and he realises how much she cares for him. We then get the Food Wars style montage, knives, food, fire, brilliantly intercut with shots of Mikasa exercising, none the wiser to the insanity going on elsewhere in the barracks. It's here that we get our third and final of the cards, depicting Erwin relaxing, reading manga, a hilarious bit of text beside him that it would be awesome if the Titans all just kicked the bucket while he took a nap. We find ourselves upon the stage ready to present the finished dishes, with Pixis as judge and Shardus as the announcer. Sasha's first, producing a steaming hot slab of pork to the spectators' delight. Pixis takes a bite, and I can't, just watch. A glowing aura surrounds Pixis as he blasts off into the air, proclaiming the deliciousness as he flies through Trost, killing 3 Titans. He grows to a height rivaling that of the Colossal itself as the buildings around him burst into flames. He takes another swig before crying and charging through the city like the Armored did. Mikasa, Jean, Armin, Historia, and Connie bite their hands, and in a flash of light, Pixis is sent flying backwards into space as he proclaims that he has never before tasted a better wine. We cut back to reality as everyone watches Pixis completely still. Jean presents a single omelette, and Pixis cleans his plate before getting to his feet, rosy-cheeked, declaring Jean the winner. The music kicks in and the crowd celebrate. But Sasha demands an explanation. Pixis spouts something about meat just being meat, and Sasha falls to her knees in tears that she forgot the other ingredients and simply roasted meat. Jean offers her a hand, saying that he simply roasted his too, reheating the dish that his mother gave him. They make up and Jean resolves to visit home tomorrow. Cue the eating. This was a fun bit of fluff. Back before Season 2 when we would get more focus on our side characters, this was a good bit of storytelling, giving us a nice tale with some of the 104th members who didn't get a lot of spotlight in the first season. I first watched this OVA after finishing Season 1, but had I watched the season and OVAs together in chronological order, that little line from Annie about not wanting to commit a crime would have been a nice bit of foreshadowing, that she doesn't want to raise suspicion in any way that might endanger their mission to capture the coordinate. Aside from that, my biggest takeaway initially was Pixis' hallucinations, dream state towards the end that left me dying the first time I saw it. Mikasa and her super buff Titan, Jean being Jean, Armin being so smart that his head is huge, Historia is a goddess, and Connie is small. But now, for one, everything we see in Pixis' hallucination is definitely not canon, it's just a wink at the audience. For one, we see characters biting their hands to become a Titan, and that wouldn't be a thing for another 5.75 episodes. Okay? Okay. With that said, these transformations are even better with what we now know. Mikasa first off cannot become a Titan, as the Ackermans are not Eldians, but I just love the joke that she becomes the most shredded Titan ever. Jean, still with a long face, standing in an awkward pose. Armin looks like when he becomes a pure Titan in Season 3 with the oversized head. Throughout Season 1, people keep calling Historia a goddess, but we now know had Rod had his way, she would have become the founding Titan and had the power to control all others. Oh, and Connie's just short. When Historia's eyes flash with dazzling light and Pixis is sent flying back, it's a nice little joke about the founding Titan's power to control all the Eldians and other Titans. There are a few moments throughout this OVA that are references to a running joke Isayama does in the manga, where he gives a fake preview of the coming chapter. I appreciate how they chose to incorporate these in a bunch of different ways, but managed to make most of them fit in without feeling forced. Well, that's about it. I know this is a bit shorter than the previous part in this series, but my perspective on this OVA hasn't changed much since I first saw it, and there's not a lot to dissect other than that last bit. So this is where I bring the video to a close. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked this and haven't seen the previous part, I suggest going back to watch that. I go a fair bit more in depth in terms of lore and all the craziness that happens in the first OVA. And next week we'll be getting into my least favourite of the initial 3 OVAs, so if you want to see me be a bit more harsh on something, tune in then. Till next time, I have been Jack of all trades. Hi, sorry to interrupt. Right before I end this video, while I was gathering footage to use for this video, I was looking at one of the scenes of Krista, Historia, and Frida, when Frida was reading a book with her as a kid on the farm. What was in the book? A girl approaching a very devil of all earth looking figure. This is a book they have within the walls. So is this a book written since the walls were built? Because they have some of the details different. They call the girl Krista, and that's where Historia gets the idea of going by Krista, taking that name when she uses a fake one in the Scouts. So why are the details different? Why is this the character in this story called Krista instead of called Ymir? Is this book in another language, like our Ymir, the Ymir we know? When she reads the canned food, it's in a different language from the main one within the walls, and Reiner sort of picks up on that. So is this book in that language? In which case, this is a relic that was brought with the royal family, which would make sense because, yeah, that would make sense because Frida currently at the time of this scene has the founding titan, has all the king's memories and everything, the curse of the first king or whatever. So what's going on here? This video is going to be slightly later in uploading because I freaked out when I saw this, and I'm spending time recording this instead of just uploading the video. Sorry. I'm having a bit of a meltdown, and I'm going to be pondering that. Expect me to talk about this at some point in the future, because that is very interesting. Till then, I've been Jack of all trades. Bye.